I've been asked to talk about how serious is it to have a hiatal hernia, and so that's a question that's going to take a few minutes to explain, but let's start with what conventional medicine says about hiatal hernias, and that is that if it's small and it's not bothering you too much, then you can pretty much forget about it. It's not something that you have to do much about because it's asymptomatic. Then, of course, there are larger hiatal hernias, and I agree with the conventional viewpoint because what happens is when they're very large, then a good portion of your stomach is literally in your chest. And the things that can go wrong can be life-threatening, which is that the stomach can strangulate, so it can twist and lose blood supply, and that could be a life-threatening situation. Because your stomach is in your chest versus being below your diaphragm, which is where it should be, then people have trouble eating. A lot of times they're vomiting a lot, so they're having trouble getting nutrition, of course. And then the other major symptom with the stomach that high is people run out of breath. They have a lot of trouble breathing because the stomach is in the way of the diaphragm moving and the lungs expanding, etc. So basically the anatomy has shifted so dramatically that these symptoms occur. And as I mentioned, the strangulation of the stomach is the thing that's most concerning. So that's a surgical situation. And while we specialize in hiatal hernia syndrome, we definitely do not work with large hiatal hernias of that sort because there's just too much damage, too much has occurred. So yeah, when they're small, and what about small and symptomatic? So that's common as far as having acid reflux and heartburn, and with that here's your PPI, here's your proton pump inhibitor, which is a prescribed antacid, or if somebody can't take the PPI or they have bad symptoms associated with it, after a few drugs are tried, then a lot of times surgery is recommended, and I do disagree with that because the long-term effects and benefits of surgery are not great, and it is surgery. You're actually changing the anatomy of your body, and I've just had too many interactions with patients who have had surgery, plus doing the research on it, and having them be very disgruntled with the effects of the surgery and having a lot of the same symptoms, if not worsening symptoms as a result, or getting some temporary relief, but then having the problem come back. And if you watch this channel at all, you know that the reason you have a hiatal hernia is that pressure has occurred on the stomach and pushed that stomach up, forcing that opening to widen. And so if you go in and basically, to make it simple, I'm not going to describe the surgery at length, but you then narrow that opening back again. If you haven't gotten to the root cause of why it all happened, it's really no big surprise that it happens again, right? Because you didn't get to the real reason why. So that's the conventional medicine response to how serious is a hiatal hernia. Now I'll give you my answer to how serious it is. And the reason that I think any hiatal hernia is serious is because of what's going to happen over time. And why did it all happen in the first place? As we were just discussing, there's been enough pressure on the stomach forcing it upward that opening that the esophagus passes through, the tube that connects your mouth to your stomach. So remember, that tube travels through your diaphragm, and then your stomach sits comfortably, normally, below the diaphragm on the left side of your body. But what's happening with hiatal hernia is that stomach spasms, pushing up, and then gradually widening that opening. That's what a hernia is. So if we've had that pressure, even if it's small, there's an abnormality there. So why wait till it gets worse? Why wait till you have a lot more symptoms? You're just going to ignore it because they're mild? Yes, that's what conventional medicine does. It manages the symptoms with the PPIs and the various types of antacid medication and says, oh, if that handles your symptoms, that's fine. Not fair, really not fair to you, because You need to look at the big picture and say, what does this mean? It means your stomach is being compressed by this outside force, and I call that the intra-abdominal pressure. So pressure has built up within your abdomen, and the stomach is feeling the effect of it. And so the situation that occurs is that not only do you get the reflux of acid up your esophagus, which can lead to inflammation of the esophagus, it can lead to an early precancerous state and later cancerous state of the esophagus. Now that's long duration, but still, because esophageal cancer is awful, so you don't want it to get to that stage. But then you've also got the fact the stomach pushes on your diaphragm. You get shortness of breath because the diaphragm spasms. Because the diaphragm is spasming, your nervous system wonders why there's not enough free flow of that diaphragm moving up and down, and not enough effortless oxygen coming in, and you get the feeling of anxiety or panic attacks, which is just your nervous system's way of trying to help you out and say, uh-oh, there's not enough oxygen. We don't know why, but this is not good. And that's why people suddenly feel anxious and feel these panic attacks. It's when that diaphragm is in that spasm state. Then continuing, you have the stomach pushes up on the diaphragm elevates a bit. Now it's getting in the way of the heart. And the heart says, what are you doing in my place? And now we've got the heart palpitations, the heart arrhythmias, and people are convinced they're having a heart attack. Then we've got the gas, the bloating, the constipation. Long term, you can get infections in the gut. You can get SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. There's a long list of symptoms. And add to that, you've got vagus nerve irritation. So when the stomach compresses and again pushes up, it irritates the base of the esophagus where the vagus nerve is very active. And when it irritates it, then all of a sudden people are like, I'm dizzy, I'm lightheaded, I feel moody, I've got ringing in my ears, and you know, then you've got this broad list of symptoms that doctors don't understand are interrelated. So you're seeing the cardiologist for the heart palpitations, and the pulmonologist for your lungs, and of course the gastroenterologist who already has you on the PPI, which has its own long set of dangerous side effects. And if you have anxiety, well, then you're on some antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication. On it goes, you see? And so you can really get yourself into quite a mess of the drugs adding up and the side effects of these drugs adding up, which again is completely unnecessary. In many cases, I'm not saying all cases, and in many cases, it's completely unnecessary because nobody's standing back and getting to the root cause of this. So as soon as you have any acid reflux, we need to jump on it and figure out why, because it's not normal. I'm not talking about the acid reflux you have just on Thanksgiving when you overeat and lie on the couch. We understand that was not the best move, and if you just do it every Thanksgiving, it's not going to be a problem. But I'm talking about this chronic nature of putting up with the gas and the bloat and the reflux and all the GI distress that people put up with because, they take the drug, they don't like how the drug makes them feel or gives them some relief, but, they know their side effects, the various things that people get immersed into. I was just talking to one of my staff that says, talking about a family member who there's the joke in the family, and this is a young man, is he's always on the toilet. Where are you? Oh, I'm in the bathroom. I'm in the bathroom. I'm in the bathroom. A young man in his 20s. This is not joke worthy, and it's something that has to be jumped on, because what's great about being in your 20s, it's not hard to fix if you have the tools to fix it. And understand how to fix it and get to the root cause. So hiatal hernia means that you have malfunction of the stomach, the diaphragm, the digestive tract enough that it's altering your anatomy, you see? So when that esophagus passes, between the sides of the diaphragm, it's only supposed to be of a very small diameter. If that opening has widened, there's a reason, and we have to figure it out, because over time it's just going to get worse. It's not going to get better on its own. and then the long-term effects of digestion being askew and what that does to everything. You know, if they say health begins and ends in the gut, and it's not an untrue statement, because it's not an exaggeration to say if you don't have good gut health, you can't possibly be healthy. That's not an overstatement at all. So we're talking about a gut problem, therefore we want to jump on it as soon as possible and find out what these various factors are that are creating this hiatal hernia. So whether you suspect you have one based on your symptoms, or you've been diagnosed with one, and what frequently happens, either it's small, and I mean, usually if you've been diagnosed with one, you're pursuing this avenue because you have symptoms. And so if you've been told, well, yes, it's a small hiatal hernia, we'll just give you the PPI, that's the usual. But oh, you're anxious, you have heart palpitation, you have shortness of breath, that's not related. That's what you're told. That has nothing to do with your hiatal hernia. And that is absolutely false. So life is to be enjoyed. You have a purpose in your life. You should get to enjoy it and achieve your goals and just do the wonderful things that you want to accomplish. And the body can get in the way sometimes. It really, really can. And this problem is getting quite epidemic. It really, really is. And it's because of our poor diet and certain lifestyle factors, but it's not hard to fix. That's the good news. It's not hard to fix. So if you have been diagnosed with a hiatal hernia, but you've been told it's not related to any of your other symptoms, we'd love to help. If you've been diagnosed with a small hiatal hernia and you're just living on PPIs, we would love to help, because getting you off those PPIs is quite important and not difficult to do, because the side effects of PPIs are many, including dementia, kidney disease, heart disease, increased risk of heart attack, osteoporosis, infections. It is a long list, and it's not something you want to get enmeshed with for too long, so that we can really get you off these drugs and get you healed up before they've done too much damage, and they do damage. And I know you can be between a rock and a hard place of like, oh great, I either am spewing acid and worried about my esophagus, or I'm on a dangerous PPI. It's not A or B. There is choice C, fortunately, which is get to the root cause and thereby get you off the medication. So that's something we do very well. I hope this was informative for you. I heard this question a lot, how serious is it? How serious should I take it? So hopefully this helped. If you do enjoy the information that we share on this channel, please subscribe. We're trying to get more people aware of what we do, and more subscribers helps. Give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and I'll talk to you soon.